Greetings and welcome to StabloidNews, where we cover anything from upcoming horror to unicorns doing porn. Uni-porn. Anyway, keep those masks on, lock those doors, and enjoy 17 Contagion/virus movies that are now more scary because bat soup and cute mini armadillos exist. Number 1, 12 Monkeys. Let's start with one of my personal favorites. This 1995 neo-noir sci-fi flick follows James Cole, played by Bruce Willis, who volunteers for a special mission where he embarks through time to learn the origins and reason behind a virulent holocaust that wipes out most of the human population. Directed by Terry Gilliam and also starring an eccentric and disheveled version of Brad Pitt, this future time-traveling film was inspired by Chris Marker's 1962 short film La Jetée. I don't know how to say that one. La Jetée, and made into a full-length feature about a man-made virus and a desperate attempt to stop its devastation from being unleashed. Number 2, Black Death. You can't do a virus list without including a movie or two about the Black Plague, which wiped out up to 200 million people in the 1300s. However, this is not an accurate retelling, rather a fictional version. When the bubonic plague breaks out in the city of England, killing hundreds, a monk decides to investigate reports of people being brought back to life within a small village. Starring Sean Bean and Eddie Redmayne, Black Death is a 2010 German-British action horror film directed by Christopher Smith and written by Dario Poloni. Oh, I love Poloni. It's a great film that flew under the radar and features a great representation of the Old English ages and storytelling. Number 3, 28 Days Later. Speaking of movies you can't do a virus list without, we must include zombies. 28 Days Later, and its sequel, 28 Weeks Later. The first one begins in an eerie, empty city as a patient wakes up and has no idea what's happened. It's 4 weeks after a mysterious, incurable virus spreads throughout the UK. Several survivors are searching for a safe place to live away from any of the infected. This 2002 British post-apocalyptic horror does a great job of showing the breakdown of society following the accidental exposure of an immensely contagious virus, and the struggle to cope with the destruction of the life they once knew. Watch this, and then watch the sequel. Some great paced action. Number 4, The Andromeda Strain. Next up, we have The Andromeda Strain and its space-borne contagion, based on Michael Crichton's 1969 novel of the same name. It follows a team of top scientists working feverishly in the state-of-the-art lab to discover what has wiped out the citizens of a small town after a satellite crashes near it. It is a great set of storytelling in the form of a race against a deadly organism of extraterrestrial origin. The film is noted for its use of split screen in old cinema to bring an interesting take to the storytelling. Definitely worth a watch for an original Alien/Contagion vibe. Number 5, Blindness. An epidemic known as the White Sickness spreads, causing, you guessed it, blindness. A wife pretends to be infected by the disease in order to help her husband and lead their family to a safe place. Blindness is a 2008 English thriller film and an adaptation of the 1995 novel of the same name. It stars Julianne Moore and Mark Ruffalo as the main characters. I have not personally seen this one yet, but Plugged In says, "This story of people mysteriously losing their sight and getting quarantined together poses some searching questions about good and evil, and exposes audiences to plenty of both." And at that, I will definitely give it a watch. Plus, I like me some Hulk. Number 6, Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever and its many sequels and remakes are definitely perfect for this list. But we will focus on the original. Like all good horror movies, 5 college graduates rent a cabin in the woods and start to fall victim to a terrifying flesh-eating virus. Maybe not that last bit. But they attract some strange attention from the odd locals. Released in 2002, this is an American horror comedy that was co-written by Eli Roth, and was also his directorial debut. He was inspired to write this film based around the real-life experience he had during a trip to Iceland where he developed a nasty skin infection. Ew. I like me some humor in my horror, so I rate this. But I have not yet seen the remake. Have you? Should I watch it? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Carriers. Danny and Brian, along with their friends Bobby and Kate, seek a reputed plague-free haven. Unfortunately, as they embark on this trip to escape a pandemic, one of them is infected by an endangering virus. As the lethal virus spreads globally, the travelers begin to turn on one another. Carriers is a 2009 post-apocalyptic body horror film starring Lou Taylor Pucci, Chris Pine, Piper Perabo, and Emily Van Camp as the 4 survivors avoiding this looming threat. Filmed in 2006, it only got a limited release in the United States following Chris Pine's breakout performance as Captain Kirk in Star Trek earlier that same year. It didn't make a lot, but still worth a watch. Number 8. Buddies. You can't do viruses or pandemics without a movie about AIDS. Everyone has AIDS. Buddies was ahead of the curve, but Philadelphia took the prize. We are going to focus on the lesser-known one, Buddies. A 25-year-old man volunteers to be what they dub a buddy to an AIDS patient. He is assigned to a 32-year-old gay gardener who was abandoned by his family and lovers in the final stages of the horrible virus. Together, he emotionally shares personal memories and insights with his volunteer caregiver as the friendship develops. Made in 1985, this film was directed by Arthur J. Bresnan Jr., who sadly died of complications from AIDS 2 years after the film was released. This is a nice, heartfelt tale that results in the real-life horror stories created by this deadly disease. Number 9. Dawn of the Dead. More zombies! I chose to focus on the remake because that's the first one I watched, and probably the reason I like it more than the original. But they are both different in their own ways, so check them out. Dawn of the Dead is a 2004 American horror film directed by Zack Snyder in his feature film directorial debut. From a screenplay written by James Gunn. You know it's gotta be good. A handful of human survivors living in a shopping mall located in the fictional town of Everett, Wisconsin, are surrounded by a swarm of zombies, the result of a worldwide plague that is producing aggressive, flesh-eating humans. As if that wasn't enough, not only are they battling the undead, but they also have to tackle the problems from within. Check out the whole series of the Dead, and have some good fun as we sit in isolation waiting out the beer virus. Number 10. The Seventh Seal. Back to the Black Plague, but with a completely different concept. We have a medieval knight who seeks answers about life, death, and the existence of God as he challenges the Grim Reaper to a game of chess to try and save his friends and himself during the bubonic plague. The Seventh Seal was made in 1957 and is a Swedish historical fantasy film and classic cinema. The title refers to a passage from the Book of Revelations used at the very start of the film, beginning with the words, "And when the Lamb had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour." Here, the motif of silence refers to the silence of God, which is a major theme of the film. Get knowledge in the classics and check out this unique and enlightened tale about a man and the personification of death. Number 11. Contagion. We all knew this would be on the list, and it has so many familiar tones. We must include. The death of a mother and son sparks the investigation and leads to the discovery of a contagious and very deadly virus. While the U.S. Centers for Disease Control struggles to change the curve and stop its spread, a worldwide hysteria ensues. Healthcare professionals, government officials, and everyday people find themselves in the midst of a pandemic as they desperately work to find a cure. Contagion was released in 2011 and directed by Steven Soderbergh. Its ensemble cast includes such greats as Marion Cotillard, Matt Damon, Lawrence Fishburne, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kate Winslet, and Bryan Cranston. Funnily enough, I'd never heard of this movie until the COVID-19 virus reared its spiky little bacterial head. But now, it's closer to life than most would like. It has become a must-see if you like to be scared and suffer that existential dread. Number 12. I Am Legend, the Last Man on Earth, the Omega Man. A trio within one. We will just count these three as one because they are all derived from Richard Matheson's 1954 novel, I Am Legend. All completely different, but with similarities, mainly in the whole one man survives. The plot of I Am Legend follows Robert Neville, a scientist who is the last human survivor. He struggles to reverse the effects of a man-made virus by using his own blood, which is immune. Starring Will Smith and a cute doggy woggy. It begins years after the pandemic has hit and destroyed most of humanity and mutates a percentage. The whole sole survivor trope is played out in a New York City backdrop while he struggles to cure the plague. All of them are great films in their own right, but I'd suggest watching the Vincent Price one first. Horror legend. Number 13, The Strand. I've seen this one brought up a few times, although it may not play out the way you think. A deadly plague kills majority of the world's population, causing the remaining survivors to divide into two separate factions. One is being led by a humane elder, and the other a very destructive-minded being. A debate, or more a battle ensues. The Strand was written by horror king, no pun intended, Stephen King, and adapted to a TV miniseries in 1994, starring a cast of more than 125 speaking roles, including Rob Lowe and Westworld's Ed Harris. It has its kind of budget feel, like the It miniseries, but it tells the story well and doesn't rush it or veer too much from the original. Probably because King also wrote the screenplay. Running at just over 6 hours, it was nominated for 6 Primetime Emmys, one for each hour, and it won 2 of them. Number 14, World War Z. We've all heard of this one, but funnily enough, I've never seen it. Have you? Starring a Brad Pitt that is much better looking than the 12 Monkeys version, this zombie apocalypse movie came out at a time where myself, was really not feeling the whole zombie vibe. Same reason why I've never finished season 1 of Walking Dead. It was dead to me. Or should I say, undead to me. Because recently, I've had a resurgence. I just needed a break, I guess. Main character Jerry, a former United Nations employee, unwillingly finds himself in a race against the clock as he strives to break down a doom virus that threatens humanity. In case you didn't realize, the Z stands for zombies. It's got the fast zombies, which became popular in the last decades and done pretty well. I will watch just for you guys and girls, but till then, what did you think of it? Let me know. Next! Number 15, Pandemic. Wouldn't you believe it? There was a devastating virus outbreak. The entire world is plunged into a state of chaos. Zombies rule the streets and the survivors struggle to stay alive.
Wow!
Pandemic is set in the near future. Not now. We ain't got zombies. And all those people saying, "We want zombies, you stupid coronavirus." We're all aware you'd be pooping in your pants if there was a real apocalypse. But that could work. Throw off their scent for brains. Genius! I take it back. You are all brave MacGyvers of the apocalypse. Unfortunately, there is more infected than uninfected. A mankind, or womankind, 'cause I'm progressive, baby, is losing its grasp of survival. The only hope is to create a cure. So the scientist goes to LA, where there are no brains, and leaves her big smartness out there while she figures out how to take them down. Pandemic is a 2016 film shot in the kind of POV style of cinema. Similar to games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, if people still play Battlefield. It's not like Fortnite anyway. It's a similar trope with a different point of view, much like Cloverfield did with the whole giant monster trope. Number 16, Parts Per Billion. And now for something completely similar, but a little different. We have Parts Per Billion, which follows 3 couples who are driven to make life-altering changes in the face of a disastrous war. Their love inspires them to strive forward, but can also cloud their judgment as they just do and try what they think is best and live with what they have left. Parts Per Billion is a romantic drama twist on a horror classic and works in so many ways for those that are tired of the same old thing repeating. It's all just a little bit of history repeating. Check it out for a bit of heart and a more personal look at the effects of such a thing. And now, let's take a glimpse at some of those that didn't make the list. This is the frightening round. Number 17. Outbreak. I left this one till last because secretly, well, not secretly now, but as a kid, this scared the living crap out of my friend Conan and I as we watched it on Laserdisc. Before your time? I think so. An Ebola-like virus is carried via a monkey host taken from the African rainforest. It begins to infect the planet's entire population. Doctors of the armed forces struggle to find a cure for this deadly virus spreading throughout a Californian town. Outbreak is a film from 1995, but still holds up so well today. Starring greats like Dustin Hoffman, Rene Russo, Morgan Freeman, Donald Sutherland, Cuba Gooding Jr., and thou who we shall not speak of. No, not Voldemort. I mean, Kevin Spacey. It explores just how far military and government might go to contain such a threat in our current days. This truly is a horror film. What the hell did we miss? Speak up and let us know. There are so many, and we would love to hear your lists, your ideas, how we screwed up, and if you're over 18, send nudes. Just kidding. Thanks for watching. Stab yous later, and remember, stay wicked, or at least alive. I really should have made this list 19. COVID-19, get it?